Just like they were 4 years ago, the inevitable comparisons are being drawn once again tonight between the dueling convention speeches of First Ladies Michelle Obama and Melania Trump.
I urge people to come together in a civil manner so we can work and live up to our standard American ideals.
A nation that's underperforming not simply on matters of policy, but on matters of character.
All right, let's bring in tonight's Power Panel. Fox News contributors Leslie Marshall, Gianno Caldwell, and Katie Pavlich. Thanks all for being with us.
Thank you.
See you, Shannon.
All right, Katie, I'll start with you. What did you make of that final speech of the night by the First Lady?
I thought Melania Trump did a great job of talking about her own vision for what she would do in a second term with President Trump. She's always been a very independent person, but also supportive of her husband. I thought she looked great, and I thought it was nice that they did it in the Rose Garden, given her historic renovation of that property and the criticism that she's received that is unfounded about the way they redid the Rose Garden. So she harkened back to a lot of what she has done so far during her tenure in the White House as the First Lady, her Be Best campaign, her trip to Africa. She told stories about that. So it was nice to hear a little bit more about what she's been doing, but also what she would do as a second term in that position.
Well, there are plenty of critics that you would imagine, just as there were for Michelle Obama. Anyone who gives a speech at one of these conventions is going to have some critics. But Bette Midler, tweeting this out during the First Lady's speech, she said this, quote, "Oh God, she still can't speak English." I mean, Leslie, that's not going to help make the case for the left.
Not at all. I find it very offensive. As a matter of fact, that is something that I actually liked. Believe it or not, I, as a Democrat, I like the fact that she's standing there as an immigrant and has an accent, as so many people do in this country. Because one of the problems that we've seen in this country, sadly, for decades, is that judgment, not just of the color of someone's skin, as the First Lady spoke about, but also if somebody has an accent. I see it here in California all the time. If somebody speaks Spanish, there's the assumption that they're undocumented. They're not a legal immigrant. I thought immigration was very strong for her to speak upon, her experience as an immigrant. What I did find lacking, since we're doing the comparing, is the connection. I felt that, look, left and right, people said after Michelle Obama spoke that she not only nailed it, but she had the best speech, perhaps, if not just that night, but the entire convention. And I think what she did was, with the intimacy of digital media that we're seeing in a very different time, with conventions done in a very different way than we've ever seen in our nation, at least in our lifetimes, she was able to really connect and to relate. Now, I'm sure for the First Lady and for many Trump supporters, she did that. I, as a Democrat, didn't get that from her as much as I did from Michelle Obama. And also when she talked about that the president wouldn't lose focus on you. Well, those of us here on the left, and not just on the left, there are many that feel, with regard to COVID, with regard to racial injustice, with regard to unemployment, that the president has lost focus on them. And perhaps that's why we see numbers so close in the polls, especially in those swing states.
Gianno, do you think the president's lost focus on those key issues?
No, I don't think he's lost focus on those. And we've seen what he's done in terms of criminal justice reform. We saw him pardon a man in the White House today. We saw him welcome in new citizens in the White House today. This is something that we've never seen before, of course. And when it comes to Melania Trump, I disagree with what Leslie's saying. I was looking at some other channels tonight, and folks that are on the left were saying that she hit a home run and she really connected with folks. What really stood out to me most is the fact that she talked about her trip to Africa and Ghana and the slave castles, which I visited this past December. The fact that she talked about racism and its impact on our country and how we can never forget and never allow it to happen again. This First Lady, I believe, gave the most compelling speech of the last 2 days. And I think she's the president's best advocate. And what we'll continue to see, and what I think the Trump campaign should do, is put her out more and more, because this was a slam dunk to me. And I think this was an incredible speech that most folks could agree upon.
Okay, I'll ask you each to keep it brief so everybody can get a little bit of time here, but we'll start with Katie and go to Leslie and Gianno. What speaker stood out for you tonight, or what moment stood out for you tonight, if you can make it brief?
So So the Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron stood out to me when he spoke directly to Joe Biden about his comments about race and that if you don't vote for him, you are not black, and talked about how he's an independent thinker and isn't tied to any ideological party based on his skin color. And I thought that Officer Ryan Hollitz stood out when he talked about that amazing story of being a police officer in Albuquerque and finding a woman who was an addict about to shoot heroin, but she was pregnant, and he ended up adopting that child with his wife. And I think addiction is something that many families across the country can relate to, and an issue that is ongoing, especially with the COVID crisis and people unable to get the medical help that they need. So those two stories and those two speakers certainly made an impact.
Okay, Leslie.
I'm gonna echo Katie's her comments. Daniel Cameron, someone whom I've known for many, many years when he worked on Capitol Hill. I think that he did an excellent job assassinating the character of Joe Biden, using Joe Biden's own words, especially the words that he used that the left would consider to be racist at this point in time were clear. And I'm thankful that he did that.
Okay, by the way, Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron is coming up live on this show in just a few minutes, but Leslie, you close us out.
Two quick things. I honestly, I really liked seeing a very diverse group of people being sworn in as citizens. I think it's a lovely opportunity for people to see. I thought it actually was a good choice and a nice touch. I liked to see the diversity that I don't always see in the Republican Party when the cameras pan. I liked that. And I also have to say, I loved the Maine lobsterman because I am a Boston girl from New England. I loved his accent, and I was homesick for not just home.
Yeah,
I was
great.
homesick for Maine lobster.
I know, I got hungry for a
he was
lobster
great.
roll. All right, Leslie, Giano, Katie, thank you all for being up late with us.
Thank you.